Welcome to program Pulse and Dance. I'm Valentina Kozlova, founder of VKDF and VKIBC. And let's get started. Today on Pulse and Dance, I have dance teacher and choreographer Hannah Record. Hannah read my book, which just came out on Amazon. The name of the book, Behind the Curtain, it's my memoirs, and subtitle is Between the Life I Loved and the One I Chose, which obviously creates some or many questions.
Yes, absolutely.
So I guess we can start.
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay, so Valentina, what made you write a book about your whole life?
Well, that's a good question because since I defected, people were asking me to write because defection at the time it was such a big step, and you really don't know what the outcome is going to be, and so they wanted to catch immediately why I did and what I felt. There also were many offers with creating a film, and I declined everything. And over the years, I was declining to write a book. At some point, one male writer wanted to actually convince me that he has to write a book about me, and we started to do it. And I felt the book or what he written was very dry, and the reason why it was dry because I was not talking about my emotions, and I laughed as is because I thought it's not, the time didn't come yet. Let's put it that way. And a few years ago, I wrote this book very fast and put on a shelf because I wasn't sure that I'm going to print. And then I guess a few months ago I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead, and I did it. So yeah, and yeah.
And what a story it is. Can you tell me what made you get into the world of ballet? What started your ballet journey? What is
I guess because in the former Soviet Union, culture was so incredible, and children were following wherever they were in Soviet Union. They were interested to attend performances or be involved in somewhere. Ballet music, of course, was very important. And as a young girl, and it says in the book that I guess I had some sort of guts to come on stage in the park and start to read poems or whatsoever. And I realized that I should be a performer. I didn't know which direction to go, but so my mother put me in kind of the school program, and then it was luck that somebody seen me and suggested Bolshoi, and that was it. Like you say, the childhood stopped and the serious life began at the age of 8.
at the age of 8?
Yeah.
Wow. That's so young. And between the life I loved and the one I chose, it seems like your whole life you've always had guts and gumption, and you always knew that you wanted something more. Can you describe that moment for me?
Which exactly moment? There were
There
so
were
many.
so many. Maybe one of your first moments.
I guess first moment was, as I recall, it was first year of Bolshoi Academy when we had to do after year. It's actually described in the book, exam. And on the morning of, when my mother was taking me to the school, I said that unless I get excellent score, I'm not going to continue. Because as much as I loved, and I really loved the structure, the seriousness of the education that we were giving, I understood that you really have to be the best to stay there, and I didn't want to take second choice. So my mother was very surprised that to hear from me. She thought it was like silly to say it. I should give myself another chance. And but I was very determined. It's either that I get excellent record, so to speak, and I will continue, otherwise not. The question was that if I didn't go, if I didn't continue Bolshoi Ballet Academy, that what would I will be doing? And as I was very young, riding tram in Russia, there were trams.
Mm-hmm. And trains.
Trains and tram. So I would stay next to the conductor, and I thought one day I will be a tram conductor because it represents freedom. I see where we're going. This is like a very interesting association. So without realizing what freedom is, I already like thought you're free to go. Well, lucky enough, I got excellent score, so I stayed.
I think the world thanks that you got perfect scores.
Oh God, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was a great time.
How was your experience at the Bolshoi School?
Very serious, because I think everybody who come there, that they realize that it's not just after school program, and I'm sure that everyone works their best. And what they, in my time, there was I believe 6-year program, and it was 8-year program, and they also were trying 9-year program.
Wow.
I think right now they settled on 8-year program nowadays, but at the time they were like experimenting. And so in my program, like after 5, well, every year, of course, they will fire some girls and boys. And
so some didn't make the cut every time?
No.
So if you made a low enough score, you were asked to leave?
You're out, or if you don't have proper body.
Okay.
And they monitor your weight on a scale, because dancers should, as much as like in the West is accepted anybody, any form and shape, in Russian ballet society it was not. It's like if you have a singer, if you have a voice that you're taking into stage, like into theater to sing. The same in ballet, if you have a proper body, proper proportions, going from your head should be smaller than kind of like regular, like let's think about your neck should be longer, you have to have long legs, long arms, shoulders going down, and so many things. And so yes, they were firing every year, like 1 or 2 were getting out. And then after year 5, I believe, that the same class who stayed, they switched. They took part of our class and part of parallel class, and they were creating, not they were creating, it was created before, character division, folklore and character division.
Okay.
So dancers who went into character and folklore division, they were doing exactly the same things what we were doing, but except it was known they will not get into ballet companies after school, but they will be chosen, like whoever chooses them, to go in very famous like folklore and character companies which existed at the time. And one of them is a very famous Moiseev company, which is was like excellent. And well, obviously I stayed in a classical division. It was hard work. Everybody worked hard. I can't say like I'm the only one who worked hard. It didn't exist. So we all tried our best, and the results were the way we created ourselves to be performing and doing stuff.
Absolutely. When you reached kind of the end of your term in the school, there's no spoiler here, you joined the company, the Bolshoi Ballet. How was that first year for you?
It was very exciting, like, well, kind of, I knew I'm going to be there already a few years prior, because Grigorovich, he noticed me when I was 13, and he said, if I'll continue like that, so there's a place to be. But it's not just he's going to take me, I had to continue to be best in class, right? And so I came to this theater. Of course, 5 of us were taking from our class.
Out of how many?
6.
Wow.
One was to Stanislavski, and the 5 of us were taken to Bolshoi. So we came first day, and there were like more or less 8 classes a day.
Okay.
It's like 4 classes at 10 o'clock, 1 hour class, 4 classes at 11 o'clock. So my spot as a young corps de ballet girl with other girls was 10 o'clock spot.
Mm-hmm.
But the teacher came from extremely famous theater family, Elizabeth Garrett. And in her class were not only corps de ballet people and young people, but there were also older and soloists and some principals, including famous Ekaterina Maximova and a few others to my favor. And so she was teaching. In my very first class, when I stayed and I looked at everyone, and I thought, oh my God, all of them, they're great. So how can I make to get to this level?
How can you outshine? How can you stand out?
Outshine was like a second. How can I just be like them? And how can I go forward? And I think that was a motivation probably as long as I remember myself. It never was envy. It never was jealousy of any kind. And I think it helped me through all my life. Mm-hmm. Because if I see something like very good that I'm thinking, yeah, I should address this. That's basically that's what it was. And on the other hand, it was very hard, like when I had to be in a corps de ballet in Swans after I did already in school the White Swan and all those, principal roles. Now I have to stay, and I was tall at the time, not now. So I was like somewhere in the back, staying in line. That the head is exactly like girl before, legs no higher than the others, and it was emotionally it was hard because I thought, no, I have to do something about it. It always was the same phrase. I have to do something about it. And so I worked. I never took day off. For so many years in Bolshoi and after Bolshoi, I never took one day off. 0.
Not even on your days off?
No.
Wow. Going to the studio and work?
Yeah, especially on the day off, which is Mondays, right?
Mm-hmm.
All over the world. I was in this theater because there's no one.
That's kind of the best time to go
in.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So you've joined the company. Life is starting to crack open for you. Do you get to tour at all? Do you start making some friends in the company? What's the turning point where you start to feel your next chapter coming into view?
Well, I had friends because 5 of us came, and a year before that, at school, you're all connected. So of course I knew some dancers already. Basically, first year was quiet for me, and then halfway through that, one of the coaches said to me that she's going to prepare me for Big Swans and another role in Swan Lake solo. And I guess theater and Grigorich gave me this opportunity. And after that, everything started to roll my way. Saying that, it was hard work. So I never depended on somebody who just will put me on a pedestal and give me this role. And the reason is why, because in Bolshoi at the time, there were 250 people.
That's
dancers,
a huge company.
Big company. 50 soloists and principals. And they all were good. And they all were famous, like really famous, excellent dancers. So the way it was, say that people give you an opportunity to do a solo part. If you're somewhere do so or actually fail, they might or might not give you a second chance because there's another girl.
There's
to try.
Many.
There's so many to try. And so I developed not only motivation, but actually discipline. I cannot fail. Just cannot. If I want to do something out of my life, then I really have to be very serious about what I do and be very honest with myself. That's why I worked so hard, and all performances in general, I guess it was progressing because they kept giving me parts. And as you probably read, there was stories when I learned the full-length ballet of Don Q on the plane. I mean,
in a bus. You learned something.
No, I was on the plane. I was on the plane.
I might be jumping.
Yeah, and the thing was that I danced by the day, obviously, and I danced another variation in Don Q, Act 2, already with the company, but I never danced full length with all this pantomime and first act and here and there. Of course, we all knew the steps, and I learned on the plane, came back, rehearsed, danced. It was successful, and it just I think I was doing throughout my life extremely bold steps, going for it completely, and the reason I believe it was because I knew that number one, I cannot fail. So that will be something like whether I want or I don't, I know it's the only way for me to do it. And but yeah, steps I took, they were kind of, I would say, not crazy, but mostly bold, I will say. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
During your time at the Bolshoi Ballet, when you're hired, you've been dancing for a while, you meet Leonid.
Actually, I didn't meet him in the company.
No.
I met him, he came on my graduation.
Came to your graduation?
Because graduation, that you're on stage, our class was doing full class, and in the audience there were sitting directors of many theaters from Russia, including Grigorovich, and it's a kind of like a very festive moment, and many artists from Bolshoi or Stanislavski, they come and they watch, because it's like basically watching potentially some rising stars. And I remember that I stayed backstage after class, and he was passing by with some coach, and he came, introduced himself, and he said that I did good, I'll see you around. That was it. And next time I saw him without knowing, a few months later, I was in the United States on tour. There was a group, not full company, a group from Bolshoi, and selected group from the school, which I was part of the school. And then he said that, let me show you New York, and I freaked out. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say to him.
Yeah. Did he show you New York?
No. Okay, because I never answered.
Oh.
And then he pursued me later on when I came to this theater.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, when did you answer?
A few months later.
A few months later.
Yeah. He was very upset because he was soloist. I was a girl from the school just coming into the company, and
you made him sweat.
I talked to all my friends. I said, what I'm going to do, I don't know. What I'm going to talk to him about, and plus it's forbidden to leave hotel and here and there, so I decided no.
What do I do? Yeah, so
no, absolutely not. Well, you see, that's a little trick.
Absolutely. Now, it says in your book, you two ended up dancing together quite a bit.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot. What would you say, before and during you growing this connection, dancing together, he started to open gates to navigate to for you to expand your mind, if you will. Maybe new thoughts started coming in. Maybe new goals started setting in. Can you describe to me what that was like when? Let's say you've dated, or were dating. What was that kind of like?
Well, dating period was just simply dating period, and he. I guess I told him from the very beginning that it's either marriage or not. Yeah. So I was like of a very old fashioned. Doesn't come from my mother. It just was like implanted somehow when I was born. And then he said, no problem, boom.
We just
we just got married, and we got married in a beautiful hotel right facing Kremlin. And because of the connections that he had through Bolshoi, etc. And legendary Marius Liepa, who was his coach, who was my coach in the school, and with whom later I danced, which also was weird because he was my coach. He was there, and basically I was at the time, or like for 6 months for sure, in the corps de ballet. And so when we got married, Leonid was soloist, and then he started to do some principal roles with big ballerinas. And on the side, that when I worked, sometimes he will come and help me. I mean, of course, I had a coach. And I think first time what happened that he told me, have you ever heard the Voice of America? I said, no. And it was a radio station. I don't know actually if it exists now or not. That was, news and culture event, news about United States specifically. And at the time, there were 3 defectors. There was Nureyev, Makarova, and Baryshnikov. So we started to listen, and of course, the authorities, I guess, they were suppressing the sound. Sometimes you couldn't hear it. But the stories, like, for example, Baryshnikov danced with Mariana Cherkassky, first time Giselle, for her, or for him in the West. And some stories about Nureyev, which I never heard before. Baryshnikov I met in the Bolshoi, but Nureyev and Makarova not. So it just like opened world that I didn't know, so I started to listen. And then, of course, at some point, his idea came into place that would be interesting, and I, to probably to think about, at least just to think about, and I thought this is ridiculous. I mean, that's completely no. But then when I started to see foreign companies coming to Russia and with different styles, I was fascinated because we were basically superb, talking about Russians, in classical ballet. But seeing neoclassical ballet and see all other forms of dance, it was very intriguing and challenging, and I really want to try. But the life involved in such a way that whatever that I was doing and succeeding, I had very happy life in there, in the culture sense.
Right. There is mention that he had quite an album collection.
Oh yeah,
of Western classic rock.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
I think at the time, well, there were so many, but then constantly I was listening to Pink Floyd.
Nice.
And Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
And Moody Blues.
Cool.
And it was, I was just obsessed with this music. And of course there were Barbra Streisand and Simon Garfunkel and many others. But I think most of the time I was listening to Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, and it's very interesting because even now, sometimes I get home, I put CD, I need Led Zeppelin.
Volume up.
That's so strange because I grew up with completely classical music, like knowledge. We studied like a lot. I played piano and all of it, and so I am of classical music product, so to speak, and have this huge volume between. Say Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, like we're going right, Beethoven, and going into hard rock, right? But metal, like
180.
But something that it just stimulates the feelings, that it touches you. It's probably similar that you dance classical roles, but you also want to try something else. So that's where I think probably.